remain unemployed. The closing of border crossings has deeply impacted Cambodia's economy and border communities relying on trade of agricultural and other goods. Education, healthcare, and other services have been severely disrupted along the border. I am available and I am eager to work with both the Cambodian and Thai governments to address human rights challenges associated with this conflict. I cannot stress enough the importance of resolving the conflict swiftly and peacefully so that people can return to their homes, enjoy a stable and secure environment, and seize the economic opportunities that border trade can provide. Senate President Hun Sen and many other officials emphasized to me the importance of relying on international law to resolve this crisis. I agree, and I also firmly believe and respectfully submit that a similar emphasis should be placed on the application of international law to address human rights concerns at home. I have reviewed information from human rights defenders and others, including the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, UN agencies, and civil society organizations, indicating that over 100 people may be detained in Cambodia for exercising their right to freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of association. I have begun to examine these cases and raised concerns about the detention and condition of these individuals during my mission. I met with several of these detainees while visiting prisons. They included youth activists, members of opposition political parties, and journalists who have been convicted and jailed for, among other actions, advocating for communities evicted from their land, documenting environmental degradation, or delivering political speeches. I listened to their stories and was moved by their courage and their commitment to working for a better future for their country. Many were heartbroken by their separation from spouses, young children, and other loved ones. I also met with political figures, including Kem Sokha, who had been released from detention but continued to be subjected to restrictions on their political rights, as do others. Some of the detainees with whom I spoke told me that authorities or intermediaries had offered a pardon in exchange for an apology and joining the ruling party. Dozens of detainees have reportedly been released under such a deal, undermining their rights to freedom of expression and association and their ability to continue their advocacy work. Some Cambodian officials, including the Prime Minister and Senate President, vigorously defended the detention of the individuals that I had identified in our conversation, stating that they had been tried and they had been sentenced according to Cambodian law, while highlighting concerns about national security and other threats to the government and Cambodian society. All of the officials to whom I raised these concerns agreed to work with me as I continue to examine these cases. No one should be behind bars for exercising their fundamental human rights. No one. Political leaders and opposition parties should not have to fear engaging in peaceful political activities. Cambodian law should be consistent with international human rights law. The realization of these principles in Cambodia will be my top priority as Special Rapporteur. I look forward to working with the government of Cambodia to this end. Cambodia has ratified key human rights instruments, including 8 of the 9 core human rights treaties, as well as the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court and the UN Refugee Convention. These are all very, very positive measures. Cambodia has engaged constructively with the Human Rights Council's Universal Periodic Review. During Cambodia's fourth cycle review, completed 2 years ago, the government accepted 84% of the recommendations made. Cambodia has also regularly reported and cooperates with reviews by human rights treaty bodies. These commitments serve as a solid foundation for my mandate, making areas where I hope to work with the government in meeting its human rights obligations. I will be examining Cambodia's legal framework in greater depth in my forthcoming report to the Human Rights Council. Many laws, including penal code provisions used to imprison opposition activists, human rights defenders, and journalists, as well as the law on associations and non-governmental organizations, are inconsistent with international human rights law. To its credit, Cambodia has accepted many recommendations made during the UPR process to review and reform these and other laws. As I indicated to Cambodian officials, I stand ready to assist in these efforts. Many government officials I met acknowledged the severe overcrowding of Cambodia's prisons, a fact that was readily apparent during my visits. Prison directors told me that their facilities were far over capacity and that the prisoner population continued to rise. One director said that the prison did not have adequate supplies of medicines. Prisoners told me that they did not have enough room to sleep comfortably and that skin diseases were common because of the cramped conditions. I was glad that authorities seemed to understand the gravity of the situation and was encouraged by a conversation that I had with the Ministry of Justice about measures being considered to reduce overcrowding. This morning, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs told me that there is a commitment from the top of the government to address this problem. During my visit, many people, government officials, humanitarian workers, civil society representatives, and others cited the remarkable economic growth and development seen by Cambodia since emerging from the horrors of war and political upheaval. Indeed, in the 3.5 decades since the Paris peace agreements were signed, Cambodia has dramatically improved the economic conditions of millions of Cambodian citizens. Poverty was roughly halved between 2009 and 2019. Life expectancy increased 15 years between 1990 and 2023. Under 5 mortality dropped by 75% over 2 decades. Educational enrollment and completion, vaccination rates, and access to electricity, water, and sanitation have increased dramatically. Cambodia is scheduled to graduate from least developed country status in 2029. This is not to say that Cambodians are not facing serious challenges. I've frequently heard about the high level of indebtedness of many Cambodian households, which threatens their well-being and increases their risk of exploitation. The conflict with Thailand and the cyber scam crisis have also contributed to economic headwinds. I regret that I could not explore all of these issues more during my trip, but look forward to further examination of Cambodia's successes and challenges in relation to economic, social, and cultural rights. Cambodia will hold commune elections next year and national elections the following year. With the upcoming polls, the government has the opportunity to create a more open political environment. Key to seizing this opportunity will be respecting the rights to freedom of expression, assembly, and association. I spoke with leaders of 3 opposition political parties as well as prominent political leaders that have been banned from political activities. They all expressed a profound commitment to multi-party democracy, fundamental freedoms, and an open political environment. These parties and political leaders, however, describe experiencing harassment and political obstruction. All of the opposition parties that I spoke with have been seriously impacted by the arrest of party leaders and party members and restrictions on political activities. They told me how electoral laws are applied arbitrarily and punitively against the opposition. For example, I learned how the dismissal of a single candidate has often been used to throw out an opposition party's entire party list for a constituency. I repeatedly heard how people are denied access to the government's ID Poor Poverty Assistance Program if they support opposition parties. I was told that simply hanging a banner for an opposition party in front of one's house can make it difficult to access government services from local authorities. Opposition members told me about how they self-censor, especially when talking about sensitive issues like the border conflict and cyber scams, given the ever-present risk of being criminalized for their speech. Journalists told me how they modify their reporting on political issues in order to avoid being targeted. I am concerned about the limited space for the participation of women in political processes in Cambodia. I learned that women make up only 19% of senators and 14% of members of the National Assembly. Sadly, very few women were present in my meetings with government officials and opposition political parties. I am committed to working with Cambodian authorities towards elections that are free and fair and consistent with Cambodia's human rights obligations. The proliferation of transnational cybercrime networks in Cambodia constitutes one of the nation's greatest human rights challenges. In recent years, these networks have used the forced labor of victims trafficked to Cambodia from around the world to perpetrate online scams netting billions of dollars in illicit income. It is difficult for me to precisely ascertain the scale of cyber scam operations in Cambodia. Credible reports indicate that 100,000 or more people have been trafficked to Cambodia and compelled to carry out cyber scams. Government officials told me that approximately 300,000 people involved in scam operations have voluntarily left the country. Trafficked workers have been held in massive scam compounds, often located on the grounds of casinos, hotels, or resorts. Scam compounds often resemble prisons, with iron-barred windows, tall fences topped by razor wire, and gates protected by heavily armed guards. Scam operators use torture, solitary confinement, food deprivation, and other forms of punishment and coercion to extract the compliance of traffic workers and ensure they meet performance targets. Sexual violence and killings have also been reported. During my mission, I spoke to trafficking victims who told me how they were lured to Cambodia with promises of well-paying jobs in administration or customer service. They soon discovered that this promise was a ruse and realized that they were being detained in what could aptly be described as a prison. The only way out was by working your way out. One described a living hell of violence and torture that began when she asked to go home. It was in the midst of their incredible ordeal that they suddenly found the doors of the scam compounds were open and the guards had run off. They were free, but then they had to face the challenge of surviving with no money and no passport. High-ranking Cambodian officials have been credibly linked to cyber scam operations, including by U.S. sanctioned designations. Over the past year, the Cambodian government has taken some important steps to crack down on the cyber scam industry under the coordination of the Commission for Combating Online Scams, headed by the Prime Minister. The head of the Secretariat of the Commission informed me that authorities have targeted and closed more than 600 scam operations in scam locations, and that approximately 3,000 scam operators face criminal proceedings. Authorities have reportedly revoked or suspended the licenses of 29 casinos. The government has arrested and extradited prominent leaders of scam networks to China. The government's actions over the past year have severely disrupted cyber scam networks here in Cambodia. However, researchers, government officials, and others told me that cyber scam networks continue to operate in Cambodia, in some cases by changing locations and modes of operations. I was told that corruption has undermined law enforcement actions, with scam operators often being tipped off prior to raids. In my meetings with government officials, I raised two important concerns. First, I asked why, despite the ongoing crackdown by the government, that the government has yet to take action against senior Cambodian officials and other powerful individuals credibly linked to cyber scam operations. The Prime Minister pointed to actions taken against some very high-ranking officials while emphasizing the right to due process of those implicated in criminal activities. He highlighted that a foreign sanctions designation should not dictate the operation of Cambodians' legal processes. I emphasized that in order to root out the cyber scam industry, it is imperative that the government address criminal connections to business and political elites. Second, I expressed concerns about the desperate situation of those released from scam operations. Some government officials told me that authorities are screening those released from scam compounds in order to identify victims of human trafficking, and that the government is providing food, shelter, and support to these individuals. However, others, including the Prime Minister, indicated that Cambodia lacked the capacity to screen those released from scam compounds and was simply focused on returning them to their home countries. Indeed, my conversations with experts and humanitarian workers indicate that the government has primarily treated those released as illegal immigrants. The resources of NGOs and humanitarian agencies serving these victims are grossly inadequate. Individuals released from scam compounds have also sometimes been abandoned by their own governments, some of which have failed to provide assistance or help identify trafficking victims. I am concerned that there are potentially thousands of trafficking victims currently in desperate situations in Cambodia who are receiving little to no support from the Cambodian government, from their home countries, or from humanitarian agencies. I was extremely honored to be able to meet with members of Cambodians' civil society, representing many different types of communities, working on a wide array of human rights issues. While I will not be able to detail the breadth of concerns and recommendations that they shared with me, some important patterns emerged from my meetings with civil society organizations. First, they consistently expressed concerns about registration and reporting requirements, particularly under the law on associations and non-governmental organizations, and laws and regulations governing labor unions and the media. Second, many have a desire for greater access to and dialogue with government officials, and for meaningful consultation on legislative and policy matters. While I heard some examples of positive collaboration between government agencies and civil society organizations, I also heard complaints that consultation actions were performative and involved one-way communication rather than genuine dialogue. Some described the need for a platform through which they can deliver their concerns to appropriate authorities. I heard from the LGBTQ community about the discrimination and stigma that they face, but also about growing public understanding and acceptance. In a meeting with the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, I offered my support for Cambodians' UPR commitment to move toward legal marriage equality. Women's groups stress the need to strengthen Cambodia's domestic violence law. They also raise concerns about the disproportionate burdens carried by women from displacement, indebtedness, and other economic challenges. I learned about the many challenges faced by indigenous peoples here in Cambodia. Chief among these are difficulties securing legal title to their lands. Many have spent years or decades fighting to protect their land against claims by corporations which enjoy better access to bureaucratic processes and courts and money. I appreciate and very much appreciated the opportunity to discuss with persons with disabilities and disability rights advocates the challenges that they are facing, including deeply rooted cultural beliefs that drive stigmatization and isolation. I look forward to continuing these conversations and expanding my research and reporting on these issues in the year to come. Ladies and gentlemen, my first mission to Cambodia as UN Special Rapporteur has left me with deep concerns for displaced people on the border of Thailand, for those who have been trafficked, for those who are behind bars having exercised basic freedoms. But it has also left me with hope for Cambodia's future, a hope fueled by my engagements with human rights defenders, journalists, principled political leaders, and Cambodian people who are committed to human rights. These are the people on whom Cambodia's future depends. I am honored to be serving as UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in Cambodia and genuinely excited about the prospect of working with them as I fulfill this important mandate. Thank you very much.
We are now approaching to end of the press conference with a question and answer session. I'll open the floor. We will open the floor for questions. I would request to the colleagues to say one question precise and wait for the microphone to come to you. And when you receive microphone, kindly introduce yourself first and by name and media outlet and ask concise questions. So it will allow us to take as many questions as we can within this time frame. Yeah, and you can also ask questions either in Khmer or English. Thank you. Please.
Greeting Tom Andrews. I'm the staff of the International Service.
Hold on.
Just a minute. No, take a microphone.
Greeting Mr. Tom Andrews. Thank you for your official visiting to Cambodia. I'm the staff from the International Service. You have been mentioned regarding to the state compound, also the state crackdown in Cambodia, and you mentioned the recommendation to the government of the Cambodia regarding to some of the city officers and also the powerful ranking people are still not arrested or has been detained by the government. And who does city officer or the powerful ranking person you mentioned about? Will you refer to some of the tycoon in Cambodia like Mr. Oknyali or to Mr. Kokan, the guy who has been mentioned in the sanction of the United States administration, right? Thank you so much.
Okay, so we can have two groups. Anyone associated question, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Vidya from BTV. I have two questions. Further to visit the border area and with civilian affected by the what human rights and human concern did you observe? Did you identify any specific concern?
Sorry, I'm not getting this.
Okay, then question. You visited border area and met with civilian affected by the recent conflict. What human rights and humanitarian concern did you observe? Can you identify some specific? Second, follow the meet with Prime Minister and President of Chile. How does the United Nations plan for the second cooperation with Cambodia to promote and protect human rights? Thank you.
Okay. I'm Regina from System Media, so I have two questions regarding the conflict between Thai and Cambodia. So approximately there are 2,000 to 3,000 Cambodians who has been displaced from their home and actually resulting from the cross-border conflict with Thailand. So I would like to ask you a question from your mandate as a human rights reporter. What is the assessment of the situation and how do you evaluate the protection of the civilian housing and property rights? And my second question, following the recent royal pardon granted to former opposition leader Mr. Tom Andrews, what is your observation regarding the political environment in Cambodia and what is your prospect for the future political environment in Cambodia in the future? Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me?
Well, thank you. First of all, with respect to the scam compounds and my discussion about enforcement, investigations of those accountable, those responsible for these scam operations, holding them accountable. My point was fundamental, and that is to say that anyone and everyone who has been involved and benefiting from these scam compounds on any level should be investigated and prosecuted at every level. We have on the record the names of certain individuals who have been sanctioned for their connection to cyber scam activities, but there are others on various levels, both of the private sector and the public sector, who have been involved in these scam operations. My point was that every level should be investigated and prosecuted. And I was told, listen, we have to investigate fully. We have to determine guilt or innocence, and then we need to move forward. And fair enough, conduct a thorough investigation, determine guilt or innocence, but pursue vigorously everyone who has been and anyone who has been connected to these scam operations on every level. I can tell you, my heart was broken meeting with some of these victims, human traffic victims that suffered so at the hands of these scam operations. And the idea that billions and billions of dollars were being made by people who have been scammed all over the world, and the human suffering that has occurred right here in Cambodia, makes me very relieved and optimistic about efforts to shut down these scam operations, coordinate these efforts, move forward toward a resolution to this crisis. I think the fact that the Prime Minister is on top of this situation in terms of the commission that's conducting this work is a positive sign. But I believe that all responsible need to be held accountable, and that was my point on that point. In terms of the border area and displacement at the border and concerns about that I identified on the border, the disruption that has occurred is quite significant, and I got a first-person perspective and appreciation by talking to the families who had been impacted. I watched their children line up for breakfast. I heard their stories about what occurred to them, the loss of their homes, the destruction of their villages, the fact that they couldn't go home. And then I went right to the border, and I could see for myself the blockade that they faced, barbed wire or containers in the way of their trying to get home. I saw homes and I saw shops riddled with bullet holes. So it's clear that they are suffering greatly. It is also clear by virtue of both international law and the agreement that was established between the two countries on the 27th of December, that they have the right to go home, and they should go home. So I will continue to follow their plight. They have fundamental rights to livelihoods. Their children have the right to education, to health care. This is an issue that I plan to follow very, very closely. In terms of the opposition leader, Kem Sokha, before I arrived, I was informed that he had been released, but only partially. And I observed in some of my conversations with government officials that there are two types of detention. There's the detention of a person, and then there's the detention of their fundamental rights. And what I'm calling for is the freedom, both in terms of the person and in terms of their fundamental political rights. And that was what I'm hoping, while one step was taken with respect to Kem Sokha, that the next step will be taken in terms of his other form of detention, restrictions in participation in the political process.
My question is, since December last year, the Thai military has been using online crackdown to justify their military operation in Cambodia with the displaced population, and at the same time the occupation of Cambodian territory. So I would like to ask about your takes on this justification. Do you approve Thailand's approach of using online crackdown as a justification to invade another country?
Someone else would like to have another question? Yeah, please go ahead. You can speak in Khmer, no worries. Just a minute, let him have the
1 minute. Sorry. Sorry, my Khmer is very, very rusty. Hold on.
So please, could you try this?
Testing. Yep. I got
Is
it.
it come?
Yeah, hold on.
Go, can you please start again from there?
លោកបានទៅជំនួសជាមួយយុវរដ្ឋរបស់គុណម្នាក់តើបានទៅជែកនឹងអ្វីខ្លះហើយលោកមានបានជំនួសទៅយុវរដ្ឋជំនួសនឹងប្រសិទ្ធភាពទេដោយសារយុវសម្បត្តិមិនស្អីគាត់បាននិយាយថាកម្ពុជាមានជាតបតែមានការសិទ្ធិសេរីភាពក្នុងការសម្រេចទេហើយមួយទៀតរបាយការណ៍របស់លោកសង្ឃឹមទេថាមានលទ្ធផលតាមអនាគតហើយយល់ឃើញយ៉ាងណាការបោះឆ្នោតទៅខាងមុខចាមានបញ្ហា
Well, thank you very much. First, in terms of Thailand's position on the border conflict, let me say that my perspective, my vantage point on this conflict is human rights. Human rights is the prism in which I am looking at this conflict, examining this conflict, and pushing for options moving forward to this conflict. So that's the prism in which I'm looking. From that perspective, once again, it is very important that those Cambodian people who were displaced by this conflict be allowed to return to their homes, to be allowed to return to their livelihoods. This is a matter of international law, and it's also a matter of an agreement between the two the two countries. Let me also add that it's also a matter of mutual self-interest, that it's the border trade and the economic benefit of border trade is significant. And the economic disruption, certainly I could tell you from my experience on the Cambodian side, and I'm sure the same is true on the Thai side, is significant. So as a matter of international law, as a matter of bilateral agreement, and as a matter of what is in the interest of the people of both countries who are living on the border, it is important that we move forward expeditiously toward a resolution to this crisis. I was very pleased to meet with the Prime Minister as well as the President of the Senate. We had extensive conversation. We talked about a range of issues, including those that I identified today. We talked about the economic situation here in Cambodia, the remarkable progress that has been made here in Cambodia economically. And we talked about human rights, and we talked about, as you indicated in your question, the question of freedom of expression. I think the most important takeaway that I have from those conversations was that we are able to engage in constructive conversations and engagements, that there is a commitment to moving forward in that spirit, and I'm looking forward to continuing my engagement and conversations with both the Prime Minister, the President of the Senate, and other leaders of all of the key ministries with whom I work. There was a genuine commitment to work together, to engage together. And there was respect. While we may not have agreed on every point, there was an agreement to move forward on the issues that I had identified. Now, I think that the issue that you raised, the issue of freedom of expression, the issue of freedom of assembly, of association, will be very important as we enter the election cycle ahead, the commune elections and the national elections. I am, part of my background is in electoral politics. I served for 12 years as an elected politician, and I engaged in many political campaigns. So this is of great interest to me personally, as well as critically important for the people of Cambodia in terms of the future. And that's what is most important. The future of Cambodia should not lie in the hands of political or business elites. It should lie in the hands of the people of Cambodia. They deserve the right to make an informed choice based upon access to the full range of opinions and information and perspectives that candidates and political parties will be presenting in the campaign. I'll be following these elections very closely, and my goal is to do anything and everything possible to assure that, at least from a human rights perspective, that these fundamental rights are respected and that the people of Cambodia have the opportunity to choose their future.
We have time for two more questions. I'll take one from here, one from this side. Please. If someone has any questions. You are open to asking the choir as well. I think so that's it.
I think we covered it. Okay.
Have a quite comprehensive statement. Thank you very much for this from media for your participation today. The statement and the news release will be available over here in English, and as soon as we get the Khmer version, we will also email it to you. Thank you very much, Special Reporter, for this press conference. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I beg your pardon. Are we going to do the...
Oh, yeah, we have time. No worries.
if they want to have a,
Well, we have lined up. We have some interviews lined up.
yeah, it is lined up. Yeah.
Okay.
So as you feel comfortable, you want to take a break for 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Well,
We have to go to another one.
we'll go to another room. Okay. Okay. All right. Don't let me steal your pen.
Thank you. No worries, sir. You might need it.
Yeah, yeah.